Hi, it's Eric Lee with Starfish Coaching. As I work more and more with small business owners, I find that the majority of them don't look at their metrics, whether it's because they don't know how or they choose to ignore them altogether. I find this is extra common with creative type owners like designers and photographers and other creative professions, but I would say that it is common for a lot of business owners. Yet looking at your numbers and metrics is exactly what your business needs, at least if you're interested in directing your business to a certain goal. So in this video, I want to coach you on looking at some metrics that relate to your sales and marketing. More specifically, it will give you some insight as to how much value each of your customers are bringing to your business. At the end of it, I will leave you with some insight on how these numbers can affect your marketing decisions to drive your sales towards the right kind of customers for your business. Okay, so let's dive into this and understand the customer value metrics for your business. First of all, let's talk about why. Why do you even want to do this? Because a lot of business owners don't. So let's give you a reason to. Peter Drucker says that you can't manage what you don't measure. And that is the essence of it. If you're not measuring the metrics of your business, then how are you expected to manage it? Okay, some more reasons. One, it gives you focus on what's important. There are many things in your business and you can't be expected to look at all of them. So we want to choose what we want to focus on. And that boils down to what you think is the most important for your business. Then you look at the metrics for that. For this video, we are talking about the sales, the marketing, and the customer value metrics. Number two reason is that acquiring new customers is actually more costly than retaining your existing ones. When you look at these metrics, it will tell you where to focus your energy on retaining your customers. The third reason is that you can use the insights from these metrics to better manage your marketing spend and set the sales goals towards getting the right kind of customer growth. Number four reason is that you want to be proactive with your business, setting the direction and the goals to where you want it to go, instead of being reactive and just victim to all the different forces out there. There is a better way to do it, and that's why we're going to jump into this right now. All right, so what are they? What are the customer value metrics? I'm going to give you two sets of metrics. One is pretty basic, which I think any business owner can do. You don't need to be an accountant or a financial guru or an MBA. This is meant to be very basic, so you can at least look at some basic metrics to help control your business better. And then I'm going to jump into more advanced metrics that you can further extend from here. Okay, so the first metric is your average customer value. This is very high level. It definitely doesn't have the financial accuracy that a CFO would be looking for, but it's good enough if you just want a gut feel. So this is the average customer value. And how you get that is you take your total annual revenue company-wide. So if you have multiple services, you take all of those services and then you divide it by the number of customers for the whole year. This gives you your average customer value. And what this tells you is that it gives you a gut feel of what the average customer is worth to your business. That means any new customer walking into your door or that you acquire will be worth roughly this number. So it gives you a gut feel. Then the other thing I want you to look at is the average purchase value. This is similar, but instead we're not looking at the customer, we're looking at the purchase. So what you do here is you take your total annual revenue and you divide by the number of orders in that whole year. So what this tells you is the average amount of a typical purchase. It's a good gut feel, just so you can get a feel for what the next order could be worth. Now, this is a good one, even though it's a gut feel and it's not super accurate. You can take it and then analyze it, because let's say if the average number is closer to the lower end of your prices, assuming you have multiple services, right, ranging from a low number to a high ticket, higher number. If that number, the average number, is close to your low ticket, what it could tell you is that your customers aren't finding what they want, or that your prices are too high because they keep on buying the lower amount. Now, on the flip side, if the number is higher, closer to the top prices or your higher ticket number, then it may mean that the customers are happy and they're willing to spend the money with you even at the high ticket items. So now you can start to see how you can use these metrics to get a gut feel of how your business is doing. Okay, let's dive a little bit further into the analysis of these metrics. So what you see here is I've put some fictitious company there, and I've laid out the customers on the left column here. For those of you who are only listening to this, then you may want to look at the video for this because it will help you highlight it. I will do my best to explain it verbally. The next column over, I would lay out my service types. For those of you who have multiple service types, it's best to lay them out per service type. So here you'll see that I've laid out two service types, service type A, which is a lower ticket item, and service type B, which is a higher ticket item. Service type A is $200 per transaction, and service type B is $1,000 per transaction. And what I've done is I've looked back at my sale data and I've looked at each customer, how much of each service type they've paid and they've purchased, and that gives me a monthly total. And then I multiply that by 12 to get my annual total. Now, what I would also encourage you to do is to put your marketing spend there per service type, because later on when I show you the advanced metrics, it's going to give you some insight as to where to better spend your marketing dollars. So here for this fictitious company, you'll see that for service type A, which is the low ticket item, $200 per transaction, the company has spent $13,000. And for service type B, which is the higher one, they spent $5,000 for a total of $18,000 marketing spend. Okay, now let's look at the two metrics that I talked about. The average customer value. If you do the math here with this spreadsheet, you'll see that the average customer value company-wide for all the service type is $15,300. And that is by taking the annual purchase divided by the number of customers. In this case, that's 8 customers. So that's $122,400 divided by 8 to get $15,300. And then the other metric that I talked about is the average purchase value. And what you do here is you take your total annual revenue, divide by total orders in that same year. And my calculation here comes to $4,533. So that's taking the total revenue, which is $122,400, divided by the amount of orders in the year. So that's the 27 purchases there. Okay, so now some things to think about even on the basic metrics. What you'll see is that when you look at the marketing spend, there's some things to identify here. The average purchase value is $4,500, yet you're spending marketing dollars of $13,000 for the low ticket and $5,000 for the higher ticket. So on average, the average purchase is not paying back your marketing dollar. This is fine if the customer orders from you over and over again or is a long-time customer. But if this is a one-time customer, you're actually not getting your marketing dollars back. So that's a good insight to look at, which basically tells you that you need to somehow retain this customer or upsell them or get them to buy more from you. Now, similarly, your average customer value is $15,300. So this is actually not bad if you compare to your service type pricing. The low ticket was $200 and the high ticket is $1,000. So that tells me that these customers are actually buying multiple of these services, which is a good thing. If your customers came to you only once and they bought from you only one time, then that's not great because that's only worth $1,000 and your average customer value will be lower. But because they bought multiple times within the month and the year, that raises your average customer value. So this tells me that this service is doing the right thing by retaining their customers and by getting them to make repeat purchases. Now, if you break it down per service type, so you're spending $13,000 to acquire the service type A, the low ticket type of customers. What you could do is you can add up the service type A revenue only and compare that to $13,000 and to see if it's worth it. My gut feel is that it won't be because the revenue is only $200 per transaction and you're spending $13,000 on it. So that seems quite high. That tells me that you need to reshift your marketing focus. Now on the other side, you've got the service type B, which is a higher ticket at $1,000 each transaction, and you're only spending $5,000 on it. So this is a better and more efficient marketing spend because you don't need so many $1,000 purchases to make back your $5,000 marketing investment. Okay, now let's dive in and look at the more advanced metrics. The first one is average order frequency. And how you calculate this is you take the total orders of the whole year, divide by the total customers of that same year. And what it tells you is it helps to identify repeat customers and where to improve the customer retention. So if you're finding that you have customers that just buy once or twice, it's definitely not going to make back your marketing investment. So you need to figure out, how do I retain this customer or get them to buy more from me more regularly? This is the metric to look at. Also, it helps you to analyze over time the buying behavior changes of your customer. So maybe in the first year, they're not buying from you too much, and then in the second, third year, they're buying more. So you want to ask yourself why that is so, or on the reverse side, if they are buying a lot from you in the first year or two, and then they drop off, that also gives a red flag as to, hey, something's going on here and I need to figure that out. Another useful metric here is the customer lifetime value. So how you calculate this is you take the average customer value, which we talked about in the basic metrics, and then you multiply it by the average customer lifespan. Basically, how many years has that customer been with you? And what this will tell you is what the average customer is worth throughout the entire duration of that customer. So we're not just looking at a year now, we're looking at some customers could be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. This metric also tells you which customers are the most valuable and how to spend your marketing dollars better. Because if you have a customer that has a low customer lifetime value, you may not want to spend too much marketing dollar on that type of customer. Yet on the other side, if you find that you have customer lifetime values high in a certain type of demographic, you want to shift your focus over there for your marketing investment. Okay, a third advanced metric I want to show you is the customer acquisition cost. This is actually a very important metric that a lot of marketing people will look at, and you should understand it too for your business. How you calculate this is your total cost of sales and marketing spend annually, divide by the number of new customers in that same year. And it tells you how much it costed you that year to acquire that new customer. Now this is really good because it's showing you how expensive or how cheap it was to acquire that customer. And then you can make tweaks to your marketing strategy accordingly. Okay, let's go back to our chart and let's expand on it to add in those advanced metrics. So here we've got our average customer value, which we went through, and our average purchase value. Now you'll see that I've added the average order frequency. So some insight here. If you look at the first customer, Ian, he has a frequency of 0.25, which basically tells me that he's not buying from me that much. But the lowest one of them all is this person, Kim, who's only bought one high ticket item from me, and she's only been with me as a customer for 1 year. So she's still a relative new customer. So out of all the customers, Kim has the lowest average order frequency metric of 0.013. And this is because she's only been with me for a year and she's only bought one high ticket item from me. This tells me that I need to either figure out how to retain Kim longer for more years, or to get her to buy more regularly from me. Now let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum, which is Paul with a average order frequency metric of 0.88. And he's bought from me, although it's a low ticket item, he's bought from me 7 times, and he's been with me for 3 years. This is why his metric's higher. This tells me that I want to look at Paul as a target client and figure out why he keeps on buying from me so regularly and why he stayed with me for 3 years. And then I can duplicate those effects on other customers. Now for similar reasons, I should also be looking at Sheetal here, who is a customer for 6 years. Although she's only bought from me for the low ticket items, she buys 5 times every month. So that's a good thing. And her metric is second highest for the average order frequency. So I also want to look at Sheetal and figure out what is it about Sheetal and that target client type that she has stayed with me for so long, and duplicate that in other customers. All right, another advanced metric I explained to you was the customer lifetime value. So this is taking the average customer value and multiplying by the average lifespan. So here you'll see that the customers with the high lifetime value is Raman and Ivan, who's bought the high ticket items from me, but they've been with me for 8 or 9 years. So obviously that's going to help. Their total lifetime value with me is $288,000 and $216,000. That means a lot, and this goes back to my original point, which is it's more expensive to acquire new customers than retain the existing ones. You can see here, just these 2 customers, just by being with me for so long, has a very high customer lifetime value. So I want to retain them, and it's of utmost importance to my business. Now let's look at those customers on the lower end of the customer value spectrum. Ian here, who buys low ticket items from me, has been with me for only a year. So I need to figure out how to keep him loyal so that he can be like Raman and Ivan with the high customer lifetime value metrics. Okay, then finally, we want to look at customer acquisition costs. This again is taking your annual marketing spend and dividing by the new customers for that year. So you'll see here my customers who are in their first year is Ian and Wanda and also Kim. So 3 customers new in that year. I'll take my total marketing spend of $18,000, divide by the 3, and that gets me $6,000 in average customer acquisition costs. Now what this is telling me is that it's costing me on average $6,000 to acquire a new customer. So if you reflect this in your metrics, the customer lifetime value, Ian, who's only been with me a year and only bought 2 low ticket items from me, is valued at $4,800. So I have not made back my marketing spend yet of $6,000. So again, I have to figure out how to retain Ian, either make him loyal so he stays more than a year, or make him buy more regularly from me, even if it's a low ticket, or upsell him to the high ticket item so that I can at least make back my initial marketing investment with him. And then looking at the opposite side of the spectrum, Raman and Ivan, who are longtime customers with me for 8 and 9 years, and even Shital, who's been with me for 6 years, has a lifetime value of $72,000. So if I invested only $6,000 to acquire that customer, these customers, because they've been with me for so long, has more than paid back multiples of what I invested in them from a marketing perspective. So let's wrap this up with some insight that can be valuable for our marketing and sales efforts in our businesses. Number 1, you want to identify which customer type is worth your investment. And you can do this by looking at these metrics and looking at these numbers. Definitely the ones who are long-term, 8, 9, and 6 years, is the most worthwhile to your business. So you want to be focusing on that. It could be putting a retention program, it could be more touch points, it could be different customer service initiatives to make sure that they stay loyal. Now these metrics also help you to adjust your prices, target market, and marketing strategies. So you may be looking at your low ticket items and seeing how much you spend in marketing. You might want to be asking yourself, okay, do I want to bump that up? Especially if your average purchase is closer to the high ticket, it tells me that you have room to bump that up because most people are buying the high ticket anyways. And then it also helps you to focus in on the right target market. Who is your most ideal customer? You want to focus your attention on that, and what marketing strategies you want to deploy. Now these metrics also helps you to strategically focus your marketing campaigns and your loyalty programs. Remember, like I said, the long-time customers are the most worthwhile and the ones who buy from you regularly. So figure out why they're doing that, what is it about them, so you can design programs to duplicate those results. These metrics can also help you focus engagement on either upselling low revenue generating customers or those long-term repeat customers. By looking at your metrics, you can definitely use it to establish a more efficient marketing budget because now you know where to spend the money and get the results that are more effective. Overall, these metrics will help you work towards a healthier customer base, one that is better for your business profitability-wise. Then you can also apply these formulas to analyze each product type or customer segment. Right there, you may have multiple service types, so you want to look at individually how they are doing for your business. Now, final note here, there are some businesses like builders, contractors, renovators that has a lot of flow-through COGS or cost of goods sold. So your revenue number may be high, but a lot of those are costs that gets just passed through. If you are this type of customer, you should use your profit numbers instead of your revenue numbers for these metrics. In these examples, I've only used revenue numbers, and they could be okay if you don't have too many COGS, cost of goods sold. So I hope these insights have shown you the importance of looking at the metrics for your business, especially if you want to start affecting the sales results of your business. Because after all, isn't that what it's all about? If there's other metrics that you want to know about, leave it in the comments and maybe I'll make another video for it. I hope you like this video. If you do, please pass it on to your colleagues so it can help them. And also like and hit the subscribe button because I will be bringing more business tips for you. I'm Eric Lee with Starfish Coaching and I can turbocharge your success.